I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the BAGSMART Vega 23-liter Featherlight Work Backpack, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. What sets this bag apart from a lot of other bags that are designed to be a personal item like this one is its aesthetic. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit closer to the camera so that you can see the material. This is a water-resistant nylon with quilted cotton batting on the inside. So essentially what we have here is like we've got this kind of unique like stitch design, and then on the inside it's a little bit fluffy. It's not going to make the bag look big, so you can tell that it still has like a pretty low profile design, but it does, like, it just kind of feels cushy on the outside. It just feels like a very, very light, like very thin quilt. And that quilted look is very popular right now, so I think this bag does it very well, because sometimes with the quilted look, they can look like really, really puffy. And I'm personally not a huge fan of that. So if you kind of like the design but want something a little bit more low key, this is a great option. We also have very subtle branding down at the bottom, so it's not really louder in your face. And I have 2 cats, and you can see that there's no pet hair anywhere on this. And actually, like, over the course of the testing of 2 weeks, like, I actually can't really even see any cat hair on this at all, which is a feat because my cats are all over my bags all the time. They get in them, they crawl all over them, they lay on them, and it didn't pick up any pet hair. So that's pretty impressive if that's something that is a huge selling point to you. The rest of the bag is fairly simple. We'll get into the harness system and like the carry points and things like that in a second. But overall, we've just got some SBS zippers all around. We have this nice front one that kind of gives it like a cool design, and then it has this round zipper pull. It's like a ring, which is a design that we see on the brand Track a lot, but it's not something that we see a ton in other brands, but it's just kind of got like a cool aesthetic. And then the rest of the zipper pulls have just like a large thick paracord that is looped through the zipper pull, and then it has like heat shrink wrapping down at the end for like easy gripping. So even though I would say like it's simple on the outside, the aesthetic is really like the largest selling point, but it's held up well over the course of testing, only like some fraying along some of the stitching, but nothing that gives us concerns for long-term durability. The carry system, the harness system for this bag is pretty simple as well. So we've just got 2 shoulder straps and nothing else. Essentially, we have a nice padded back panel with a luggage pass-through, like I mentioned, designed to be a personal item bag. And so, you know, this fits onto rolling luggage very well. I was testing rolling luggage at the same time, and it slid on like a dream, so no issues with that. The back panel padding doesn't really, this is a mesh that's like for breathability, so it does give you a little bit of breathability, but there's no like air channels or anything like that. So on like hot days, it can get a little bit hot. But with the straps here, I do really like these. They're really, really fun. I mean, like, I can turn these a million times and like I can still keep going. Like, they're very, very flexible. And it's the same mesh here as is, and like on the back side as is on the back panel. And that's very comfortable. It's like a very soft and kind of squishy mesh. There's not a ton of it. You can see that that's not particularly thick, and neither is the back panel padding. But I felt that it was adequate, and you'll see when I put the bag on, it's not like a huge bag. So I just found it very comfortable. It fit very nicely on my frame with some, you know, caveats that we'll talk about. And then we've also got the 2 top carry handles. There's no padding on either of these. I didn't feel like I needed it, but I do wish that there was a way to kind of connect them, just because you saw like this one flops back and could sometimes like hit me in the back of the head or the back of my neck, which I didn't love, but it's kind of small potatoes in the scheme of things. This is the bag while it's on. Immediately I'm going to point out those carry handles. So you can see this back one, the one that's closest to me, flipped forward right immediately when I put the bag on, and I can actively feel this against the back of my neck. You can just flip it that way and then it stays out of the way, but like if you move around enough, it's gonna flip, like it naturally falls out. So I don't love that. You can rig it so that, like, you know, you can tie something around it yourself, like a Velcro tie or something, if it really bothers you that much. But in the scheme of things, it's, you know, not a huge deal. But I do find the bag very comfortable on. I can kind of feel my laptop like down at the bottom here, but it's not very intense. However, we do have other team members with longer torso lengths than me, and they find that it's just not very comfortable where that laptop starts hitting. It's like a little bit too high up. And it's just, I feel like this bag is a little bit better suited for people with shorter torso lengths because it kind of molds around a little bit better. But it's definitely going to depend on the user, just something to keep in mind. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. But starting with the storage on this bag, so we're going to start with external compartments. We have two water bottle pockets on either side. You can see they are identical. The only caveat with that is that this, like, depending on which side you have these zipper pulls on, that can impact storage a little bit in the water bottle pockets. And it's more of like a nuisance than anything. And because there are two zipper pulls, you can put them at any point. However, just to kind of give you an example, this water bottle pocket stretches really nicely. But with these zipper pulls, if they were down here, it starts to like butt into those. And you can't get to them easily when you want to unzip the bag. But also it just kind of made it harder to slide in. So something to keep in mind. Again, it's just kind of like a user thing. Just make sure you keep them elsewhere. I just always forget. They are very, very stretchy though. They're designed to fit up to a 40-ounce bottle, which is definitely true. This is a 20-ounce though, and with the bag like fully packed out on the inside, you can see it slides in nicely, but it starts to kind of cut into space. So the larger bottle that you have, the more it's gonna cut into that space. And if this bag is completely packed out, it can get a little bit hard to kind of stick a bottle in because it has to cut into the internal space a little bit in order to fit. It's also not like the most secure in the world. Like if I shake it around enough, the bottle starts to come out. Gotta stop it before it falls on the table. But in general, I felt that they worked fine, and they gripped small bottles well. So if you have a small bottle on the plane, not necessarily have to worry about it flying all over the place. In terms of other pockets, we do have a couple of different options. We have one here. This is a back panel pocket, and this is designed for like a passport or just small items. You can see the liner pulled out. I'll talk about that in a second. But this is it's a decent hiding spot for gear. It's nice to have a spot like that, but this big zipper pull is it's very obvious that it's there. So it's not like this is like a good security pocket, but it is nice that you can like flip your backpack over one shoulder and like get into this, like get in and out of it very quickly. So that's kind of nice, but I wouldn't say it's a security pocket per se. The thing with the liner, I found that all over this bag, the liner is a little bit loose. And so you're kind of, when you're looking for your items, you're kind of fighting against the liner a little bit too. It didn't bug me too much, but we test a lot of bags that have like really tight liners, and I think I've just gotten a little bit too used to that. It's just nice to not have to fight against the liner when you're looking for your stuff. But with the other pockets here, they're very similar. So this front compartment I use for items that I want quick access to. Like I have a Kindle in there, I have my wallet and my headphones. You can see what I mean about the liner. You can't just like open this and look inside. You kind of have to like fish around in there. And then there's also a key leash with a little round carabiner clip for quick access to your keys. So this one's nice. It goes down to about, well, I would say like maybe like halfway through the logo. And then the top one is actually, there's another one right up here, and that one goes down to about here. And I would say like between the two of these, they have very similar depth. And I kind of wish that one was a little bit more shallow, just because like when I have these small items, like I put the smaller items in this pocket here and they fit well in there, but I kind of wish I had like a smaller pocket to fit the smallest items that I have, if that makes sense. But this pocket is a little bit wider. I have a lot of items in here. You can see I have my phone, I have a pair of gloves, and I have sunglasses, and then I also have a battery bank in there. So I would say like this front diagonal zipper is good for like really thin items that you want quick access to, and then like thicker items like those gloves or extra layer or something like that. This is a really great spot for that because it has a little bit more depth to it. And then the last compartment that we have is the main compartment. So like I said, with the dual zipper, you can put this anywhere you want along the zipper track, and then it just unzips nice and easy and folds open. So what I like about this is that it kind of folds like very because the material is so flexible, it folds open really nicely so you can get a good look at your gear. If you have these two front pockets really stuffed out, it can get hard to flip, but even with all those items that I had in there, I was still able to open it up and flip it open like that, no problem. So maybe like the Kindle would get in the way if it's positioned weird, but overall still kind of good in terms of access, which is good because when you're on the plane, you want to make sure that you can get into your bag easily without being like, where's all my stuff, because you don't have a ton of room. What I have in here is I have an extra layer, I have a packing cube, I have over-ear headphones in their case, and then I have a notebook. So when you take all of that out, you can see, I mean, the bag just kind of like deflates, which is honestly nice. Like, it is very thin, flexible materials. But you can see this kind of like back admin panel almost. Let me look, I actually think, oh yeah, okay. So I've got like extra like stuff in here. Also these packets that I just found. There's a decent amount of space like down at the base here. You can see that this, like, obviously the laptop is like pulling it forward. But like when you start to pack things down at the bottom there, it kind of like creates a decent base for you. So the bag did like stand up on its own pretty well. But you can see these pockets go down a little bit there. And we have mesh, and then we just have like a straight fabric pocket, and then 2 pen slots. I am not a huge admin panel person. I just don't find them super functional for me personally. This was a good spot. Like, I had like the charger in here or something like that. This slip pocket, like, there's nothing to keep any items in there. It could be good for like a notebook or something. But like this Kindle, for example, was just barely too big to fit in there. Like, it just wouldn't go all the way down. So I kind of wish it was just slightly bigger so that it could fit something like that. But in the scheme of things, if you don't want to use these pockets, they're not a huge deal. I found that between, you know, all of the other organization and like pouches and things like that that I already use, it was more than enough for me. We also have a laptop compartment. This can fit up to a 15.6 inch laptop. I have a 13 inch. You can see that there's like a ton of room to spare, which is nice. I think the annoying thing was this is like a hook and loop closure that's like elastic. So, you know, it's to keep your laptop from falling out basically. But because it was like such a large loop, it felt unnecessary for me with a smaller laptop. Just because it like went all the way in, and then every single time I wanted to get to my laptop, I couldn't really like get it around. I mean, I could, but it was just like more tedious. I just ended up kind of doing this and maybe even like leaving it tucked in that back compartment. Just kind of like a nitpicky thing more than anything, because I do think overall this bag does what it needs to do very well. And then with the laptop compartment, it doesn't have a false bottom. It definitely comes right down to the edge here, but the way that it's lined up, it kind of falls on a bunch of stitching. So like when you set your backpack down, it's hitting the stitching and it's not hitting like the floor. So I felt comfortable, you know, tossing the backpack around without being like, oh my God, my laptop's in danger. But you do have a decent amount of space here. If you wanted to use an extra protective case, you totally could. And then here we have a zippered mesh pocket with 2 compartments. So I like this because sometimes you get like a big mesh pocket like this and there's no extra organization on the inside. Or like in this case, it's like stitching to keep it separated. And I like this because I'm able to kind of organize my gear within those 2 pockets. I use this for like the tech items and things like that. Like things that I would have maybe put in here, I just put in here instead, and it worked out great for me. Like tech or things like that, charging cables, that sort of thing. And I kind of wish like maybe this like additional stitching organization, maybe that's what I was missing in those front compartments to give me a little bit of like segmentation for items that are as small as my AirPods. But in general, I think you have a ton of storage options in here. And if you don't utilize all of them, you know, it's still a very functional backpack. So there you have it, the BAGSMART Vega 23-liter backpack. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.